Hey everybody, what's going on? I want to put up a video, and I stated this before, and I said quite a bit about bullying, and I also explained I was bullied as a child for a very long time, and I always try and stress to be yourself, man. Don't let people change you or try and make you conform to something you're not. And I remember when I was in school. A lot of the really intelligent kids were always bullied. They were always singled out because they're extremely intelligent. And one of the interesting things is, and this kind of relates to it, but it doesn't. But there was a kid they had special classes in school, and a lot of the kids with special needs used to go to these classes. And this one kid, he had Down syndrome, and he was whacked out. That's the only way I can put it. He was just so whacked out. But the amazing thing about it was this kid never had a piano lesson in his entire life. He had a tough time talking. He really couldn't understand too much of anything. If you put this kid in front of a piano, this kid could do an entire concerto on the piano, perfect as it could be possibly played, without ever having a lesson. And it was crazy. One of the other things he could do, and I know this sounds like Rain Man, but it's the truth. Honestly, it's the truth. He could, if you told him a day, and I don't even know how he did this, if you told him a date, he could tell you what the weather was on that day. It was one of the things that he studied. Studied the Farmer's Almanac for some reason for years and years past. He could tell you what the weather that day was, if there was a rain event or a snow event or the heat index, but the kid couldn't tie his shoes. And that was the same for Albert Einstein. He couldn't tie his shoes. But the point of the video I'm making, it isn't because of that kid, and it isn't because of bullying. It was one of the things I was exposed to maybe 9 years back. It was a group that I never even heard about. It was called Mensa. And Mensa is the top 2% IQ holders in the world. And they have a convention every year. And they just happen to have the convention at my hotel. So I was going to do the cooking for them. And the amazing thing is what they do in their spare time and what they eat. I find interesting things in everything. It can be, sometimes I'll just sit and look at the ocean. But then again, I'm probably stoned. But it boils down to what we do and what the top 2% do. What's very different. The first thing was what they ate, and I assumed immediately that the smartest people on the planet would eat all organic, whole grain foods and wheatgrass and that kind of stuff. But I was actually shocked and surprised. Eggs, hard-boiled eggs, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hard-boiled eggs, and submarine sandwiches. I made the submarine sandwiches for them, and you gotta understand, these people are so intelligent that their brain never stops going. So a lot of times they have a hard time sleeping. There's always something going between their ears. one of the amazing things is, you try. I mean, you're not in the same league as these people. They're just so extremely smart, and being that incredibly intelligent, it's kind of hard for them to fathom that when they say something, you don't understand what they're talking about. It's like you're speaking a foreign language. I went in there to a preliminary meeting with some of the leaders, and we were discussing what their events are and what they're going to do. And it's like a think tank where all these super intelligent people get together and spend a weekend doing activities and interacting with people of their own intelligence level. And it was just, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'll always admit that. And it was fascinating to sit down and watch what the top 2% IQ people do. And at the same time, they run testing to find more people that have an IQ as high as they do to be considered to be into the club. And back to the eggs. these guys were explaining to me how perfect the egg was. Remember the commercial, how the egg's perfect? And they ate submarine sandwiches, and I had to make the submarine sandwich breads exactly to the specifications they wanted, to how many ounces of meat, to how many ounces of lettuce, to how many tomatoes per sandwich, how many inches the sub is, because they calculated exactly how much food will be required to feed set amount of people for the 2 days. And it was so wacky that they got they gave me the gallon sizes of garbage cans to get, because they crunched the numbers and came to the conclusion of how much cubic feet of garbage they would produce and how much the weight would be. Where everything from paper goods to plastic goods to proteins to the garbage bags themselves for a weigh off at the end to see if they were on target with what they hypothesized as what the weight in cubic feet of garbage would be. But surprisingly enough, was what they did in their off time. They played games, not games like video games, like mindless games that we play. They played board games and played with toys, like toys, you know, and did workshops on fish tanks and just old basic games that you used to play when you were camping, which I thought was really interesting. And it was interesting to see that some of the people that you really, really didn't expect to be so super intelligent were completely off the chart. And it was like, for lack of better words, talking to a space alien. It's the only way I could put it, because you couldn't have a 5-minute or 2-minute conversation with them. It was always, if you were going to have a conversation with anybody else, it would last 2 to 5 minutes. With them, it would go on for an hour, hour and a half, explaining every possible thing in the world. If we're talking about hard-boiled eggs, they would talk about how much protein to fat ratio and whether it's good to eat the shells or not. And it was interesting to see. It was an interesting experience. At the same time, there was a convention going on for people who have fish tanks, and their whole life is fish tanks. And it was just interesting to see these people interact with each other, because I think a lot of pet owners and a lot of people that are into fish or reptiles or something like that, they're in the same context. I think they're kind of outcasts amongst people, where it's like the gun community. You can say that. You can see how they're outcast from the mainstream because you're different. Everybody likes you to conform and be just like they are, have the same hairstyle, same clothing, just like you came off a cookie cutter assembly line. But the thing about it is, these people celebrate their differences. And one of the things that I found, and I say it a lot, and I say it in so many videos, how racism is completely stupid. People are people. Whoa, wasn't that a song? No, people are people, and everybody's different. There are good people and there are bad people of every race, and you'll run into the full spectrum of that. You'll find people that are social predators and criminals, and you'll also find people that look really scary and look really intense and look like they just stepped out of prison and they're the nicest people in the world. And it goes back to the same thing. You can't say, well, you can say, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't take a broad stroke and say that every person is this way, every black person is this way, every white person is this way, every Asian person is this way, every African person is this way. You know, every culture is different, and within the cultures you find nuances that are just what you don't expect. This is breakfast here, so it was such an interesting learning experience, because there were people at this meeting who did not fit the mold of what I would think a super intelligent person would look like. Um, we had bikers there. There was cowboys there. There was punk rockers there. There was family people, housewives, children. Uh, I was talking to a kid, and this kid must have been 8 years old, and I was just astounded about how intelligent he was. And at the same time, they were interested in what I like to say the stupid people were doing. So I'm cooking, making the food, putting everything together, and they're just marveling at the waste of time. One kid comes up to me, well, why didn't you weigh up the meat before, the night before, have everything wrapped up and have everything done? And I'm like, well, it's better to have the sandwiches fresh. And he's like, well, fresh? How do you mean fresh? The meat was processed probably 2 months ago. And then it probably sat in your refrigerator for 2 weeks. So how could you say it's fresh? I mean, I go, well, cutting it fresh makes a huge difference. If you buy a sandwich in the grocery store and it's been sitting there for, say, 24 hours, you know those pre-made subs, it's like a rock. The meat doesn't taste great. It's slimy. The lettuce is all wilted. But they couldn't comprehend that concept. But you know it. You know when a sandwich is good when it's fresh made. Like if you went to a Subway or your local sub shop, the sandwich would be fresh made. If they gave you a 2-day old sandwich, you would know the difference. That was one of the things that surprised me. They couldn't fathom that. They just didn't understand it. It did not compute. So, wow, that was really bad. Did not compute. But I thought it was interesting, and it was an interesting learning experience. And like I said, you can't judge a book by its cover. You can't sit there and say, just by the way someone looks, you can't say they're predisposed to act like the way you expect. So, that's going to be my video for today. Me eating an egg, how boring could that be? But it was something that just hit me the other day because I was talking to somebody, and I was astounded what a jackass this person was to begin with, and how freaking stupid this guy was. I was buying something at the grocery store, and I waited online. It was a convenience store. I waited online to pay for what I was picking up. And there was like 3 people in front of me. And everybody is strange because when you go to convenience stores in comparison to grocery stores, you get a lot of people that are on the fringe. They're just either they don't have cars, they have to walk or ride bicycles to get to the store that's in town. And that's a whole other issue about farming out grocery stores, where people are actually trapped in a town and they have no other way of getting food other than the grocery stores that are convenience stores, where they pay elevated prices, and the store owner knows it. So that's why he raises up the prices, because he knows these people aren't going to go anywhere. You have a captive audience. This guy comes in behind me, and when he walks in the door, he goes, and I'm like, immediately I said to myself, I'm like, oh, here we go. And he gets 2 people behind me, and the one person in front of me pulls out a credit card. And I'm the same way. I don't carry really that much cash on me. Almost never. And he gives it again. Now, 1, it's rude. 2, it's obnoxious. And I'm like, you know what? I've been trying to be a mellow guy. I don't want to start any shit. I don't want to get any trouble. And that's the new me. That's what I'm trying to do. There were times in my life where I would just turn around and say, what the fuck's the matter with you, man? But, you know, I'm mellowing out in my old age. I'm trying not to get caught in the same traps that I've been caught in before by stupid behavior. So, now I'm up there. I put my stuff up there. And it's a convenience store where everybody usually buys 1 or 2 things. I got like 12 things in my basket. And I rode my bicycle there because I've been trying to save gas. I still have my car, and, you know, the gas is crazy expensive, and I need the exercise, so I rode the bicycle there. And I pull after the girl rings. The girl has nails like this long, like fucking 4 inches long. so she can't punch the keys in the cash register too fast. But that's on her. That has nothing to do with me. So the guy gives it again. Oh my God. And I get up there, and she's putting everything in the bag, and I pull that credit card out, and he goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And that's there's got to be a time where you just say no. No, this isn't gonna sit well with me. So I turn around, and I'm expecting to see like some meathead. It's like this guy. He's like 5 feet tall. He looks like it's hard to describe. All the kids have their hat sideways, the baggy pants. Dude even had like a fingerless glove on, but I won't even get into that. And I turn around and I go, "You have some kind of problem, Chief?" And me personally, I hate being called Chief. And he looks at me, and for a second he was gonna mouth off, just for a second. And I took like another step, about an inch closer to him, before he responded to what he was gonna say, what I said. And he goes, "Oh, no, I don't have a problem." And I look at him, I go, I have bad days too, man. And I understand you have bad days, but don't take it out on everyone around you. You know. And he looked at me and he goes, "You could," it's amazing. He goes, "You could take that advice and shove it up your ass." And I looked at him and I was just like, do I react to this? Now, mind you, the grocery store's across the street from the police station. I know where this will go. I'll pound this guy's head in, and the store owner will call the police, and we'll both get arrested. And most likely, I'll be the one getting the assault charge, and he'll probably be getting the disorderly person charge. And that's it. I'll lose my gun rights. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So I thought, man, I really drifted off with that, but I apologize for that. It's just that you can't always expect what people will do and what people will say and what their actions will be. It's a crapshoot, man. You don't know. I've also seen the biggest, toughest guys in the world crumble when their girlfriends yelled at them. Just have like complete meltdowns. Don't judge a book by its cover, and don't ostracize people for the way they look or what they're into. Man, this must be a long, long video, huh?